We do need to get at least a club on our. So the. No.
Welcome, welcome. Let's try that again. Welcome, welcome. Awesome, great. Welcome to the greatest Rotary Club there is. I'm Mike Ballard. I'm pleased to be the 99th president, serving in the 99th year of the Las Vegas Rotary Club. We've got a great program. Yeah, there we go. I knew there was something supposed to come after that. It just wasn't me that was supposed to start it. Okay. Our invocation today will be offered by Tarby Bryant. Our song will be led by Richard Jost. And with that, I'll turn it over to Tarby.
Well, I ask that you remain standing if you would. Today, 20 years ago, a calamitous event occurred both in New York and Washington and in Pennsylvania. I found something on the internet that I'd like to read. It's participatory. So I'm going to read the first line, and if you'll do the refrain, and the refrain is, "We remember them." So I'll give you a line, and then after that, I'll put on my glasses. In the rising of the sun and it's going down, we remember them. When we were weary and need of strength, we remember them. When we were lost and sick of heart, we remember them. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember them. So long as we live, they too shall live, for they are part of us now. We remember them. In the blowing of the wind, in the chill of the winter, we remember them. In the opening of the buds and the bursts of spring, we remember them. In the blueness of the sky and the warmth of summer, we remember them. In the rustle of leaves and the beauty of autumn, we remember them. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. Amen.
Apparently we all have the same idea about September 11th. And in addition to Mike's message in the wheel today and Tarby's invocation, I invited Paul McCartney to come to our meeting today to help us sing a song that was written for September 11th. Paul wrote it for a benefit concert that was held 2 weeks after the tragedy, and performed it raising money for the first responders and other victims. And it's been performed quite a few times since. The words are fairly simple. We'll let Paul carry the verses, but the chorus, I'm confident we can all do the chorus, which is talking about freedom. I'm talking about freedom. I will fight for the right to live in freedom. And so we'll sing the chorus, and we'll let Paul handle the rest of it.
An effort up there yet. Now remember, oh my God.
That looks like a second plane.
Dear
Has
Lord.
I
just
did not
hit.
see a plane go in. That just exploded.
We just saw another plane coming in from the side.
You did. I did. That was out of
Yes, and that's the second explosion. You could see the plane come in just from the right-hand side of the screen. So this looks like it is some sort of a concerted.
Arriving at the scene, Jim Friedel in Hoboken said it appeared to back sharply and smash.
This is my right, a right given by God to live a free life, to live in freedom. Talking about freedom, I'm talking about freedom.
please join me in the pledge.
Which it stands, one nation, under God.
Testing, got it. Okay, I think we're back on. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank for our invocation, Tarby. I want to thank Richard and Paul for the song. And want to thank the other people that helped make today possible. Marie Walsh with ticket sales. I saw Nikki Bates and Barbara Castro and Jamie Goldsmith helped set up. We have Mike Newborn, that's going to be our Sergeant of Arms. Michael, there you are, ready to go. Okay. We have Bert Reiner that's going to help with teardown. Thank you, Bert. I'm sure there'll be one or two people to help him. We have as our scribe, Nancy. Thank you, Nancy, for all you do for us. And the photographer, who's our photographer today? Thank you, Miss Tina Bishop. Let's give them all a hand. Takes a lot of volunteers to make this club work, and for each luncheon, we appreciate all those that do the work to get things set up. Okay, we have, do we have visiting Rotarians today? On the screen, I think we have one or two. You can let us know. We're going to turn the volume up so we can hear you, I think.
Chris, I'm here from the E Club in District 70, 7505 in Southern New Jersey, and we're really happy to be here and enjoying ourselves a lot.
Great, thank you. Manuel.
Hi, this is Manuel. I'm here. I'm a Rotarian too for the District 7505 in New Jersey.
Great.
And I'm the treasurer for the club.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Manuel. Okay, do we have any guests of Rotarians? Non-member guests of Rotarians. We're going to start with Tina. Michael, are you over there? Okay, we're going to start with Tony first. Tony, where there?
On the screen via Zoom is a gentleman that was an RI lead Tina and I spoke with last night, Ashraf. So welcome.
Ashraf, welcome. Great.
Hi everyone. I'm Ashraf and I'm happy to be the guest today.
Okay, great. Tina, who do you have as a guest?
I have Phil. He's visiting again. He's a neighbor of mine, loves Rotary.
Great, glad to have you.
Because he has excellent taste.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, any other guests of Rotarians? Great. Everybody, let's give a hand to our visiting Rotarians and guests of Rotarians. Okay. At our head table today, we have our speaker, Alan Feldman, Tom Thomas, Brock Fraser, and Tarby Bryant, as well as myself. So thank you for sitting at the head table and joining us there. Okay, there's a book, and I'm colorblind. They say it's green. I believe them. It's going around.
I saw it somewhere. Here's the green book right here.
Green book.
It's under some white papers.
Okay. There are 6 different signups, and we only had 5 clipboards, so we put everything in the book today instead of passing around clipboards. So please look at that. There's lots of different activities we've got that we need you to look at, and people will be referring to them as we make announcements. And our first announcement is, I think, Mike, are you going to talk about the Concours d'Elegance?
As a matter of fact, I am. So we are staffing a table at Ryan's Classic Celebrity Cars for the next 5 Saturday mornings. And I need some volunteers, especially for the next 3 weeks. I will be staffing the table this Saturday, but I'll be gone the 2 Saturdays after that. So I need 4 per day. Now Brian is going to be back on the 25th. So I only need 3 for that day. We'll stick him back in there. But yes, if you could sign up, definitely need that by today. And we also will need help staffing the concourse, but that is still being worked on. Have you guys had this?
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. President.
Tony's going to talk about youth protection training. Michael, got a race to this over here. And after that, we're going to go to Karen Wisenhunt for 2 different announcements.
There were 29 of you that had signed up for the youth protection online training. And last night you should have received an email. I just don't want you to think it's junk or trash, but it will say NAYEN, NAYEN, training administrator. So that's what you have to click on. There'll be a link. That's where you take the training and you do the 30-question test. So it's NAYEN, NAYEN administrators.
Now, why do we need to take this training, Tony?
Because as long as any Rotarian is going to participate in any function with younger folk, as in adolescents, minors, such as at TLC, RILA, Books and Buddies. Santa Claus is not required based on what we have talked about, but if we have it, do it. But we have 29 people out of this club that have already signed up. All you need to do is send an email to me and I will send it on. And PDG, John Chase is like magic. He just poof, sends out the emails.
Great. Thank you very much. Karen Wisenhunt, what do you have to tell us today?
Well, the second announcement, I'm not sure, so I'll just stick with the first one. As everybody knows, we have the golf putting tournament this Sunday, and it starts at 12:30. It's a shotgun start at 1 o'clock, and we have enough players to have 2 rounds. The course itself is a 9-hole putting course. So one group will eat while the other group plays, and then at 2 o'clock is the second shotgun, and the ones that ate at 1 will now golf at 2 and vice versa. We got raffle prizes. We're looking forward to having the kids there. We still have room on the sign-up sheet. If anybody last minute wants to attend the event, just let me know. I need to know by the end of today. And it'll be a great family fun event with the proceeds going to the Rotary Youth Exchange Program. So
great.
Thank you, Mike, for letting us support it. And thank you all for your contributions, especially Alara Group, who is our sponsor for the tournament.
Okay, great. Hey, Mike.
And what time is the drinking?
Mike, ask her about if she knows anything about the spouses lunch.
Spouses luncheon?
Yes.
I do. I need a calendar though. Sean, do you know what the date is? The 24th? Sorry, Mike.
Oh, sorry.
The
I was
date.
told you would know, so.
24th.
Okay. September 17th.
17th. Okay.
September 17th is the spouses lunch.
Spouses luncheon is at the Grape Street Cafe at 11:30 on September 17th. And for all you new members, if you have spouses that would like to attend, you can let myself know, Sean know, or Pam Smallis. So thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Tina, you've got something to talk to us about as well, don't you, Tina Bishop? Maybe not. The district induction. Are you talking about the induction?
Well, I can.
Great. Why don't you?
Okay. We are planning, are we talking about the induction or orientation? Oh, with Betsy. Okay. Tuesday, we have a joint induction that's going to be performed by Betsy Berry, our district governor. It's going to be at Angel Park jointly with Summerlin. So we should have 3 or 4 inductees, and I'm not sure how many they're going to have, but it's going to be a nice evening.
Should be a very nice evening. Great. Thank you. And then Marie Walsh, do you have something to tell us?
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Marie.
Breakfast with Books will not be in-house this year. We're going to do it virtually because of what's been going on. But I will give you, excuse me, I will give you the date and the link when the time comes, so you can be involved with it on the computer.
Okay. Great. Jim Hunt, Jim Hunt, are you online? Then Kirk Holmes, tell us about what's going on at your house. We got a party at Kirk's house on.
So Becca and I are hosting the next Cigar Social,
Yay.
October 1st. There's going to be ads going out. There's a sign up book. Bring 3 cigars, 1 to smoke, 1 to trade, and 1 for the troops. Sides, and it's going to be a good old time.
Great. Thank you very much. Stu Liphoff, you're going to tell us about something going down in Blue Diamond?
Hello, everyone. So it's not on the calendar, but if you look in the scribe notes from last week, you'll see that we're planning on honoring some of the airmen from Creech Air Force Base by treating them to a game of the Aviators on the evening of September 23rd, which is after our meeting. It starts at 7:05. Details of what the ticket costs will be made available, but there'll be 75 airmen and their guests, and we have 25 tickets available for use by our club. So save the date for the 23rd. Come out there and help us honor some of the airmen from Creech. Apologize for the late notice on this, but they've been a little bit busy the last few weeks, so we had trouble kind of getting their attention, but they've confirmed today that they will be joining us on the 23rd.
Great. Thank you, Stu. Hey, Stu. Actually, I'll do the announcement. We're having a highway cleanup on October 2nd, 8 a.m. That sign-up sheet should be in the binder that's allegedly green. And so sign up for that. Afterwards, we're going to have brunch. And if you haven't been to the brunch, it's amazing. I've been, and it's always top notch. So come and socialize with your members. Susan Ziobro, are you online? She's online. Talk to us, Susan.
Hello, President Mike and fellow Rotarians. I have a great announcement. The State of Nevada Gaming Board approved us for our annual canned food drive raffle. So you'll be seeing tickets for sale and hearing a lot of announcements made. And I hope you put it in your budget to help be the winner of that one big ticket. Also, the 25 Club had a meeting this last week, and we had slim turnout, but we had great results. So we will have Arlene Sirois will be hosting our October 25 Club meeting at her home, and Bert Reiner will be hosting our November 25 Club meeting at his home. And those are always the first Thursday of the month at 6 p.m.
Great. Hey, thank you very much. You know, when I became president, I had no idea I'd be running a gaming operation. I'm just glad that it's legal and not illegal. Thank you very much.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Kate had a question and wanted to know if kids would be allowed at the highway cleanup.
Kids are allowed at the highway cleanup as long as.
Boom.
Depends on the age. Yeah. So there were kids when I've gone in the past. You just need to be able to make sure that they stay on the sidewalk or there's no sidewalk, on the gravel side of the road. But yeah, they've come before, and we don't want to be responsible for them, right? So I think when we've done it before, it was like 8 or older. But whatever you can do is great. And then I think our last announcement is President Richard, past President Richard. I still think of him as my leader and example, as the previous past present to me. So
Thank
Richard,
you,
what do you got to tell us?
Mike, I have some sad news. For the second year in a row, because of the pandemic, we did not have a district conference where the district governor gave out awards. The good news, however, is that we did get notified by our past district governor that we were one of a handful of clubs in our district to win a district citation. So now, if you are on a first name basis with anyone in the district, leadership, you want to get a hold of them and make sure they understand that of the clubs that received a citation for last year, there's only one club that should receive the bell this year. And obviously that would be our club.
Awesome. Yay. Thank you.
So we're
Richard.
in the running.
Great. Bob Warner, I think you had the last announcement. Okay, I'm sorry. I skipped
Yes,
right
thank you,
over
Mike. President Mike. I wanted to get a shout out to Dr. Mayen, who wrote a check for the foundation in memory of Gloria Allen. That was very thoughtful. She was the first one right out there, and I thank you. And the foundation thanks you.
Great. Thank you very much. And I was mistaken and pleasantly reminded we have one more announcement from Jamie Goldsmith.
Okay, so I'm really excited to share with y'all that we had a very successful Soar High Tea this past weekend. We raised about $900 and had 30 people. So thank you to everyone who helped me, Dr. Kathy, Janice, Rose, and then the president of the Boulder City Sunrise Club all helped with the event. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And this Monday morning at 8 a.m. is our annual ceremony at Las Vegas City Hall. Congresswoman Susie Lee, Mayor Goodman, and Attorney General Aaron Ford will all be making opening statements. So I hope everybody comes out to support our outstanding Southern Nevada first responders. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you. I've got my half-hour speech prepared for the SOAR event on Monday morning, so great. With that, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the rest of your lunch. We're going to break for a moment. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen. We have, I'd like to invite Michael Williams, if you'd come up real quick. I got a call last night from Jerry Engel, who then added in Michael on the call. And Michael's going to Eastern Europe and to do some humanitarian service. He's going to just tell us. I gave him 60 seconds and I'm going to yank him at 90. So I gave him just a moment to say some stuff about what he's going to do.
It's so good to be here. It's been what, over a year, almost a year and a half to walk through those doors and be with my Rotary family. So just a few months ago, I got an email from the TM organization. I'm not trying to sell TM here today, but that's where it's coming. TM is Transcendental Meditation, which about 15 of you in this room practice, a mental technique that lowers metabolic rate, deep rest, endorsed by the American Heart Association to reduce heart attacks by 68%, heart attack, death, and stroke. There's just over 600 research studies done in the last 40 years. So minimal time. Okay, so I'm going there. I've already volunteered. I bought my ticket. Actually, I borrowed the money to buy a ticket. So I called Jerry last night because he's a friend and my father figure. And I said, I'm going to Armenia. I'm going to stay in this dumpy hotel and I'm going to teach thousands and thousands of people TM to get rid of their PTSD because they have over 100,000 people with PTSD and thousands have been killed in the Azerbaijan war and Turkey and drones coming into their country. So I wanted just to come today to get a flag to take because I know I've already checked out there's some Rotary clubs in Yerevan where I'm going to be staying, but I'll also be going down into the villages and teaching the people, et cetera, et cetera. So Jerry goes, no, I want to support you. Then he started asking me questions, how much it's going to cost, blah, 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 blah. So within 10 minutes, we were talking to Mike Ballard on the phone and he says, I'm going to call Rodensfeld. He needs to donate some money to this thing too. And so that's how it happened. So between last night and 48 hours ago, this whole thing just happened. And so sorry, I'm not more organized, but so I just want to go there and teach. It's going to cost $1,650 for a translator, room and board, food, everything. I won't be staying in a nice room. I've seen the pictures of the hotel. And so Jerry says, you just need to pitch. If anybody else wants to help, I have some flyers. And anyway, because we've already done studies with PTSD, with veterans. We have a big study going on right now with thousands and thousands of the doctors and nurses back east at 5 different cities. It's just endless, except no one's really heard about TM. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, I think we have a raffle. Anybody, do we want to have the raffle today? Okay, just checking. Just checking. I brought my glasses so I could read the numbers myself this time. Yes. Okay, the winning raffle ticket for a chance to win half the pot, which is at least $1,500 and probably over $1,700. The number is 237-0943. 237-0943. Hey, winner, chicken dinner. Okay, we have about, 44 cards here. Okay. Pick a card, any card, any card, any card. Is it the Joker? No, 4 times, yay. Rip it up, rip it up. Tear the card up. We want evidence. Every week, the odds get better by one card. Okay, now we've got another $50 in Larry's gift cards. Are going to last four. 0931. 0931. Okay, Tony, you got your camera out? Bert wins the two. Okay. Perfect. Our speaker today will be introduced by Tarby Bryant. I'm excited. Our speaker is someone I've known for about 2 decades. No, I'm sorry, Tom Thomas. I'm going to introduce Alan, but that's okay.
Mike's doing a great job. It really is an honor for me to introduce Alan Feldman, who my family has been one way or another associated with at least 4 decades, Alan. So not wanting to age anybody. If you have been within 100 feet of the gaming industry and you don't know Alan Feldman's name, then you weren't working hard enough. He, as you'll see from the wheel, you can read about his current projects and what he's involved with, which is critical to the state of Nevada. And that is the mission of responsible gaming, because all of us know the pitfalls that can come from people that get too engaged in gaming and lose their direction and lose their personal responsibility. But Alan has also worked closely with really the men and women who built Las Vegas. He has been personally engaged hour by hour in helping tell the story of the growth of Las Vegas through its most critical periods of the 80s, the 90s, and now for the last 20 years. We are really honored to have Alan here at this club today to speak to us, because he brings just a wealth of information about the dominant industry in this state. Alan Feldman.
Thank you. I was telling them at the table that really didn't matter who introduced me. It was going to be boring no matter what. So thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me back. The last time I was here, we actually met on the other side of the restaurant, and I suspect they kicked us out of that side after that. And here we are. So I expect next time we meet in another 30 years, we'll be on that side. As Tom had said, I have been around for the better part of, well, now more than 30 years. And throughout that time, I have dealt with just about every major incident that has happened in this town and seen a lot of the trends that have happened in this town. And I thought I'd kind of talk a little bit about both. That the downside of where I come from is that the perch that I've been on has been mostly to deal with the problems. I very quickly got beyond the hype and the glitz and, you know, openings and shows and all of the good stuff, because that wasn't my job. My job was to deal with problems. My job was to deal with crises. And so if you ask me to reminisce about 30 years, honestly, the very first things that come to mind are the downers. And so, you know, when Mike and I were talking, Mike and I have lived through quite a bit of this together, but when we start to reminisce, unfortunately, I start to go to things that really aren't things you want to be remembering too much. And yet, through those things, come a lot of, I mean, as weird as this is, come a lot of good memories. It doesn't mean that there wasn't a lot of pain and there wasn't a lot of suffering and there wasn't a lot of loss. But I also can tell you that even as that was happening, there was an awful lot of good. And I kind of think that in a lot of ways, you all understand that. I mean, you're out there working and struggling and trying to do good for people who themselves, as in fact we just were talking about seconds ago, are themselves experiencing challenges in their lives, challenges in their communities. And you're trying to do something to make that better. It doesn't negate the fact that they're experiencing those things. And so to some extent, I hope that maybe some of the things that I have done has contributed to the better overall good. I'm going to get to September 11 in a moment, because that's obviously on everyone's mind, and that also plays into or relates to, in some regards, the trends that I wanted to talk about. But before I do, in another month, in October, there are a couple of big anniversaries that we're going to come to. I know you all know about October 1, and I don't need to go there just yet. But there's also October 3rd. Anyone immediately recognize October 3rd as an anniversary? That was the night that a tiger attacked Roy. And that was a night that is absolutely seared in my memory. Because just after 9 o'clock in the evening that night, I got a call at home from the president of what was then MGM Mirage. We had just merged with MGM Inc. And I was told that Roy had been injured in an accident on stage and he was taken to UMC Trauma. And I headed down to the hospital, and I don't recall getting home for about 4 days. Pretty much stayed in the hospital for a few days, along with many, many others. But the part that I was kind of, to some extent, I hate to say forced, but I willingly relived a bit this week. A producer in Los Angeles is doing a very, very long podcast series that'll be out next month. And I subjected myself to an almost 3-hour interview about this. And about an hour of it was dedicated to that night. And it caused me to think a lot about what happened that night. And, you know, we could certainly talk a lot about the details, and the details are absolutely not lunchtime discussion. The part that I found myself remembering, though, was the part about what was going on in the street and in the parking lot, or parking lots, right across from UMC. Now, right now in that area, what's going on is that they're putting the finishing touches on the Kirk Kerkorian Medical School. You know what I'm going to do? I hope this doesn't cause any problems for anyone who's watching online, but I'm just going to do this. What's going on right now is they're building the Kirk Kerkorian Medical School in that area. And that's going to have a huge difference for our community. We'll talk about that later. But at the time, there was just surface parking right across the street. And on that night, cast members, crew members, employees, dancers from other shows, employees from other hotels, other people in the community, fans here in Las Vegas, and after several hours passed, fans from other cities began showing up. And they would cluster in little groups, people who knew each other, some who didn't. Some would be singing. Some would light candles and just stand in small circles praying. Some would just be talking quietly, sharing their memories of seeing Siegfried and Roy. Now, inside the hospital, depending on where you were inside the hospital, a variety of different things were going on. Very deep inside the hospital, meaning in the medical part of the hospital, it was absolutely controlled and relatively calm chaos, as you might imagine a trauma center would be. there was a buzz of activity, but there was not a lot of raising of voices or anything like that. People were moving around very, very quickly. They all knew what they were doing, but it was really quite intense. In the lobby, it was berserk. It was just people going every which way. But what was so interesting was the relative calm that was out in that parking lot. And I mean, the emotions were really, really high. But I remember actually getting a sense of some sort of odd relief that the folks who were out there knew they didn't control what was going to happen. What was going to happen was in the hands of the doctors and in the hands of Roy and Siegfried's relationship, the spirit that they had. There was nothing they could do except what they were doing. They were either praying or talking and just hoping for the best. And right about, I in my head, it was 2 or 3 in the morning of that, well, I'm calling it that night. It would have been technically the next morning, October 4th. I was given an opportunity to go see Roy in his room. It was just his manager and I who walked in. And I'm saying see Roy, but it's kind of important that you understand that it was almost like looking at a mummy in the bed. He was completely covered in his head in bandages, his body under blankets. The only part of him that was visible were his eyes. And that part of his nose where tubes were going, and his nose was covered in bandages. And then his hand was out. Obviously, it was covered in bandages, but it had the IVs, the IVs coming. But his hand was out. And so I slid my hand kind of under his. And he was not communicative at all. But I felt like I should say something. And I told him the truth. We were talking at our table earlier, and I said, I'm actually a very plain-spoken kind of person. I just, I'm pretty direct in all truth. And so I just said to him, Roy, we're all praying for you. We're all praying for your recovery. I didn't describe anything about what was going on outside. I didn't say anything else. I wasn't planning on staying there for a long time. This was going to be a really quick visit. And so that's all I said. And all of a sudden, I felt him squeeze my hand. Now, I probably should have prefaced this by saying in the moments before I did this, his neurosurgeon, David Duke, and one of the other doctors in the emergency room had come and briefed a couple of us, his manager, his lawyer, myself, on exactly what had happened. And I would love to try to replicate what that was, but it was far too complex for me, and to be perfectly honest, a bit overwhelming. I do know that it involved literally removing a piece of his skull, putting that into his stomach, and allowing part of his brain to, or not part of, allowing his brain, the swelling to go down. Again, that's like the most amount of this that I could even try to tell you at lunch. That was the nicest part. So I knew that had happened. So the notion that he was going to be able to do anything was completely beyond me. He squeezed my hand. It was the first moment that I thought, my God, he's going to make this. He's going to make it through. Up to that point, I again, the spirit of honesty, and I know you're going to understand this especially. I was running through scenarios in my head about how I was going to walk out to the press that had gathered. There were about 30 media out in the street. And I was running through scenarios about how I was going to go out there and just find the words to say that Roy had passed. Because there was no chance. I mean, if you'd heard what I heard about what had happened, there was no chance a human being was going to survive this. Then he squeezed my hand. And I thought, he's going to make it. I already knew he was the single toughest human being I'd ever met. This man had a spirit that was on a different plane. And what was interesting was that a lot of people would look at him from the outside, and especially from outside of Las Vegas. They would look at him and they would dismiss him. He was flamboyant. He was theatrical. He spoke with a funny accent. He described things. He spoke poetically. You know, look for the magic that is all around you in plants and animals. And, you know, that was kind of the way in which he spoke. And therefore he was easy to dismiss. Oh, what fools these mortals be. He was a great artist. And in some regards, I think that night proved it beyond any shadow of a doubt. And, you know, he continued his life after that and continued to do great things in this community. And I have to tell you, among the great privileges of my life was the fact that I could say, I got the chance to work with Siegfried and Roy. And make no mistake, Siegfried, although the quieter of the two, was just as strong, just as powerful, and just as wonderful. I mean, what a terrific man. And it really was an incredible honor to work with them. So as we get toward October 3rd, I would just ask that each of you just take a moment and remember Siegfried and Roy, because among other things, they did incredible things for this community that we should just honestly, we should never forget. I said that I would talk a little bit about some of the things that you get to learn over 30 years. You know, age does provide a certain amount of wisdom. I as much as I like to try to ignore my age and like to ignore the 30 years that I've been here, the advantage that it does provide is that you actually begin to see things happening again and again. You know, that notion of history repeating itself, it's not always wrong. And I noticed it early in my career as things would happen again and so-called crises all of a sudden didn't seem to be crises. And some of my younger staff and colleagues would come running up and they'd be breathless. Oh my God, you know, there's a fire in the kitchen at a restaurant in one of our hotels. Oh, okay. Well, there's a fire. Did they put it out? Well, yeah, they did. Okay. Anyone get hurt? Well, no, but there's a, okay. There's a fire that got put out. No one's hurt. Do you have to close the restaurant? Yeah. Oh, okay. All right, so we'll have to close the restaurant. No one got hurt. Anything else? No. Okay. Okay. So if anyone asks, there was a fire, it got put out, we're going to close the restaurant. No one was hurt. It's all good. You know, maybe 10 years prior, I would have been just as breathless. But, you know, with time, you sort of begin to roll with it a little bit more. And I think part of what is significant about this is we arrive at COVID after this unbelievable shock and trauma to our community and our financial system and this industry that we rely on so much. And we'd be foolish not to think, oh my God, are we ever going to recover? This is different. Will we ever recover from this? And by the way, March, April, May of 2020, I would have been one of those folks who was thinking, oh, wait a minute, this has got to be different. And yet I kind of went back and I did some research because now I'm at a university and I could do these things. And I started looking at patterns. And COVID is different. I will grant you that. COVID is different. But in some respects, it isn't. Because if you look at Las Vegas over the last, I only went back 30 years. did look further than that, and the pattern is consistent if you go back 50 years. But if you just stop and take a look at the last 30 years, every single time there's been a shock to the American economy, whether that is through the normal recessionary cycle or it's been from an outside event that causes a recession. So if you go back and you take a look, say at the early 90s, there was a recession in 1990. It happened to affect Las Vegas a little bit later. It hit Las Vegas like 91, 92. Las Vegas was on a tear. Everything was going great. We had lots and lots of activity. Revenues were up, and then 92 hit, boom, drop. You know what happened in the years that followed? Not only did it recover to pre-1990 levels, it got higher. And then, and by the way, it got a lot higher. Then September 11th, an outside influence hits the economy, everything drops. And let's face it, September 11th, we all remember around here, felt as dark a time as any of us had ever experienced. It felt like none of us could control the outcome. I don't, we all have different stories. Mine was going to one of my son's football games at the time. I'm pretty certain it was at Spring Valley. And so that would have been on a Friday. The event happened Tuesday. It was a Friday evening. And sitting in the stands, which looked straight out toward McCarran, all of a sudden I saw a plane. And I thought, oh my God, they're flying planes again. This is a sign of hope. There's a plane. I mean, who would ever have thought that that was a sign of anything? But it was a sign that maybe something was coming back, because prior to that, for 3 or 4 days, I thought maybe this was the end. And after September of 2001, when everything dropped, it took us about 4 years to see return to 2000 levels. But you know what? After that, 2006, 2007, 2008, and 2009, unbelievable. I mean, unbelievable. New records year over year over year, kept on going. Then the housing crisis. Boom, drops off. We all remember the housing bubble, and especially here in Las Vegas. It felt terrible. It felt awful. Sure enough, starts to build back. And it takes a couple of years, takes more than a couple of years, about 5 years to be exact, till we come back. But now where we're coming back to is 2008 levels, right? And by 2016, we're back at it. Only now, in 17 and 18 and 19, we're up higher. So what's the pattern? The pattern is drop off, period of recovery, and sometimes it's elongated, but then it gets better. It goes even higher. The drop off is lower than where we were at the last recession, and it goes up higher. Okay. Then there's 2020. And I will guarantee you that there is nothing, absolutely nothing in our history that shows anything close to what happened in April, May, June of 2020. Nothing. Those are numbers that no one has ever seen. Occupancy of 1%. I mean, to say that it's mind-boggling is not even close to beginning to describe what was going on here. Yet, here we are now in late summer. It's hard to tell when the summer ends here, right? Sort of summer, winter. But let's call it late summer. And we're seeing months of gaming win at $1.3 billion, $1.2 billion. These are record numbers. No one has seen this kind of gaming activity ever. So there's one other interesting element here to consider, and that is how the money has been spent. In 1989, when the Mirage opened, 63% of revenue from the hotels well, let's just talk about Las Vegas. In Las Vegas, 62 to 64% of revenue came from gaming. The rest of it came from non-gaming. Fast forward 32 years later, non-gaming would be restaurants, hotel, shows, and retail. And retail in particular was very, very small because most retail back in 89 was rent. Very, very little of the retail was actually owned by hotels in 1989. Most of it was rented out to others who then operated the shops. By the time you get to 2019, 2018, it's exactly reverse. And it's exactly reverse on numbers that are twice what they were in 1989. So the total revenues have grown enormously and the percentages have flipped. So it's not that people are gambling less. Don't make that mistake. That's not the case. They're gambling twice what they have been. They're just, as a percentage of total revenue, they're just spending way more on entertainment, on retail, on food and beverage, on hotel rooms. Because basically 1989 and prior, we're giving that stuff away, right? We were just giving it away in order to get the gambling revenue. That strategy changed completely. And you can see it in a couple of really interesting ways. In 1989, there were 17 million visitors coming to Las Vegas. In 2019, pre-COVID, 42.5 million people. 42.5 million people. Just so we're clear, I don't care if Orlando says they had 41 million. They're jerking your chain because a lot of those people were 5 years old. We had 42 million people coming here, most of them adults. Gaming revenue in 1989 was 3.1 billion. Gaming revenue in 2019 was 10.3 billion, tripled during those years. And jobs in 1989 were just under 400,000. It was almost 1.1 million by 2019. The growth of the industry has been astonishing. And then we hit the pandemic. I think what we're going to see for the foreseeable future is gaming is going to take an outsized role for a while. Gaming is going to continue to be more a part of the picture. We have no conventions coming. I shouldn't say no. We have very, very few conventions coming. And it's going to take a while to build that back up because conventions tend to be a year to 2 years out. So it's going to take a little while to get that back. Entertainment is coming back, but it's coming back slowly because a lot of the entertainment money comes from conventioneers who are in town. And so part of what has happened is these resorts have become very, very complex animals because we like to call them integrated resorts now. And the reason we do that is because each component piece is integrated in with the other. A heck of a time to have my phone ring. Okay. Each component piece is integrated in with the other. So the conventions feed the tourism, feed the food and beverage, feed the hotel rooms. The retail is relying on tourists and conventioneers and casino customers. We're thrilled to see football in this town. Oh my God, that's a saving grace about to happen. So that's going to make a big difference. Obviously, with hockey season coming back, that'll make a big difference. So there's a lot going on that's going to be helpful. But for a little while, we're going to see our mix, as we like to call it, a little bit out of balance. But it will eventually come back. And when it does, it will eventually eclipse even the numbers that we saw in 2019. So I am hopeful. I am hopeful because history proves that I have reason to be. It's just going to take a little while. We can't expect that it's just all going to come back next month or by the end of the year or even by the end of 2022. But it will come back and it will be stronger when it does. So with that, I think we have a few minutes for Q&A. President Mike is taking his prerogative. So I think I can speak loud enough. Talk about when you got that first phone call to come to Vegas. What did you think? Who made the call? You graduated from UCLA or something like that, right? Go Bruins. So I was a theater major in college. I thought I was going to be a lighting designer. I was wrong. I had just enough skill to do lights for, the Music Man in high school, but no skill whatsoever beyond that. And thank God I figured it out early on in college. I was working for a big PR firm in Los Angeles. I was turning the corner near the general manager's office one afternoon, and a fabulous guy named Ron Hartwig, he comes bursting out of his office. He sees me and he says, "Feldman, we're going to Vegas." Sort of back on my heels. It's really important that you know that at that point in my life, 30 years old or 31 years old, whatever, I hated Las Vegas. It was the place my parents would drag me to when they wanted a weekend away. And I like to say we came from modest means. This is a nice, polite way of saying we were poor. So coming to Vegas was a way to get away for the weekend when it wouldn't cost very much. And when we came, we were staying at one of the little motels, either further down on the strip or someplace downtown. We weren't even in a high rise. It was really bare bones. And for me, that meant I had a weekend at a hotel pool. I mean, that's a motel pool, not even a hotel, a motel pool. So there was nothing about Vegas that I liked. By the time I got into college, I was a lighting designer for theater. Why would I go to Las Vegas? It was all pink lights and sequins, and they had no idea what they were doing. It was ridiculous. So the thought that I was coming to Vegas was absolutely not exciting. We come to Vegas, we meet Steve Wynn. He starts to describe this hotel called the Mirage. It was a 6-hour meeting. We were coming for lunch. It was a 6-hour meeting. He was describing something I had never envisioned, I'd never seen, I didn't know existed, I didn't actually think could exist. And he basically said, "Look, it doesn't matter what I think, it matters what you think. Come back." By this time it was already late in the day. He said, "Come back when you have a moment, walk through it, see what you think." So we all piled back into McCarran and went back home, kind of stunned. And I think I had something to do that Thursday. It was a Wednesday. I had something to do Thursday, so we came back Friday. And right away, we're given a tour. This is 8 weeks before it opened. And I'll be damned, it was exactly what he said it was. It was exactly what he said. It was amazing. It didn't look anything like any of the other hotels up and down the strip. And it looked like what he had described. And, I was kind of sold. I mean, I certainly wasn't sold on moving here, but I was sold on the notion of helping him get this place open because he clearly had something different in mind. It was very impressive.
Alan, I'm Jerry Engel, and I was the accountant for Siegfried and Roy back in the 70s. And you're paying tribute to Siegfried. I have to share with you a story because I did the estate planning for them. And I remember saying to Roy, I said, "Roy, when you are gone, what do you do with all the tigers?" He said, "We're going to have to put them to sleep." I said, "I don't understand why." He says, "Because they think I'm the father." because when a little cub was born, the mother would take the cub and bring it to Roy and put it in his lap. Anyway, thank God he changed his mind, because we know that today they saved the species of the white tigers. And it was Roy's doing. He was really into it. Thank you.
You know what? It's important you know that that's true. That this was not made up. I can bear witness to this. And I told the podcaster this. You know, when we talk about Roy's relationship with the animals as being unique and special and spiritual, it was also real. It was damn real. I watched a mother deliver a cub, as God is my witness, right about where Mike is sitting, with Roy there. Now, tigers don't do that with humans present. And then after she cleaned the cubs up, walked it over to Roy and put it in his lap. That doesn't happen. I mean, come on. But I watched it happen. His relationship with the animals was unreal. Another thing that most folks don't know, unless any of you experienced it, and if you did, by all means, raise your hand. Beginning about 2009, so a few years after the accident, Siegfried started to show up at the Secret Garden. He didn't need to be invited. It was his space. But he just started showing up unannounced. He'd drive his car up. He had the key to a side entrance. He'd walk in and he'd just be there. And any tourist, any of you, anyone who was there could walk up to him. And often they would go, "You're Siegfried." He'd say, "Yes, I am. I saw your show." He'd start talking. "Can I take a picture?" Of course, come here. And they'd take a picture. And I said, "What's this?" And he'd make a coin appear. Said, "Sarmoti, Siegfried and Roy, masters of the impossible." And he'd hand it to them. And he would usually say, "Look for the magic that is all around you in your heart and plants and nature." He would say that to them. He'd say, "Have a nice afternoon," or "Have a nice morning," or whatever. He did that up until 2 times after his surgery and treatment for cancer in 2020. And just before he passed, he made his last visit. And he did it daily. Not occasionally, not monthly, daily. On his schedule, his terms, but all the time. He never said no to anyone. He never refused a picture. He enjoyed the conversation because his connection was to people. And that's, I think, what made them just extraordinary.
Okay, this was spectacular. It was everything I hoped it would be. In appreciation for your participation with us today, we're giving a pair of shoes to needy children in schools that we sponsor. And then we also have a coin that has the 4-way test that we've been practicing that talks about what motivates Rotarians. Thank you very much. Next week, our speaker is about Brightline West. Greta Seidman is speaking on the bullet train from Los Angeles to Las Vegas. We hope to see you. That should be quite an interesting program. Last thing is, we still need 2 volunteers.
One now. Kirk Alexander is going to be there now.
One more volunteer to help out.
The Saturday Coffee and Cars. 1 volunteer, please.
So,
The Saturday morning. 7 a.m.
okay.
Love you.
Thank you. With that,
We'll be manning a table.
ladies and gentlemen, we're adjourned.